is the greatest moment in my life.
Look at the state of us two.
What a pair of pillocks.
Oh, this is going to be fun. Mate. This is going to be good. How are you getting on in that mask, Wags? Are you breathing okay?
It's torture. It's legitimately torture.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you've got something covering your actual face. Me, this feather thing is itchy and I'm warm, but it's worth a giggle, mate, isn't it? It's good for a laugh.
You look like a big orange racist.
I am a big orange racist for the purpose of this show.
I am telling you that, and that is going on your Twitter bio.
We need a beat button at the ready, Mr. Mags, for I'm going to say some controversial things, brother. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, a Radio Tekkers production, and the Halloween special. We're not dressed like this just for the sake of it. There is a purpose.
I forgot. I honestly forgot we were dressing up.
I wish you made the effort, mate, you know. I am Si, and joining me as always is the dead man to my large round man. Makes sense when you watch our match that we discuss later on. The bonsai drop to my barbershop, which is run by my best friend, brother Brutai, brother. A podcaster who apparently now listens to shows at ×5 speed. How is that even humanly freaking possible? Mr. Mags.
Apparently about it, sir. No, apparently about it. And I will have you know it is now Lord Mags.
Lord Mags. I did see that on your Twitter, actually.
Yeah.
So what's that then? Why Lord Mags?
Because I'm a lord. A legitimate, bona fide, legal lord.
Okay.
So every year for Christmas, the wife and I buy ourselves or buy each other like a silly gift. And this year we bought each other a Lord and Lady title. So we are officially Lord and Lady of some manor in Coniston. We have like a 5 by 5 foot square of land, and we can officially change all our titles to Lord and Lady.
Nice. Brilliant. I think is it like literally just a small little section of the ground, isn't it? That means that you get the title there.
The manor is like 90 acres, and
yeah.
you get like a 5 foot section of it.
Yeah. Right. I was going to get Lemmy, my cat, one of them, so he'd be Lord Lemmy.
Well, that would be brilliant.
I thought that'd be funny.
I don't know if cats can be lords, but
no,
you could try it.
I ain't got to tell him it's a cat, have I suppose?
Well, when they rock up and he's got a monocle and a top hat and meow.
Oh, definitely so, mate. Definitely so. So then, how is everybody doing tonight? We got much in the chat, Magsy?
Everybody's here in the chat. So we've got Anya was here 5 minutes early. Spooky hello in order.
Is that just because I put the wrong time on the tweet and said that we start at 8 when in actual fact we start at 9 because I'm an idiot?
She was like, they're an hour late. Matt Willis, hello, sir. And I'll be speaking to him later on the volley with a tear in our eye. And yes, and Sharon, I think Sharon's laugh is a cool laugh, like she's happy at our fancy dress get-up, but maybe not. Good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you are. Matt, gimmick stealing, as per usual.
No, I don't mind that, mate. It's in our chat. That's cool.
Dan Griffin, holy shit, Power Mania is running wild.
Brother.
I'm glad you went with the brother word and not the other words that Hogan likes to use. And Oval is looking rough, yeah. I've had a bad time of it. I really
looks a bit pale, mate.
You don't understand the grief I'm going through for wearing this. It's horrid. I don't know how real plague doctors coped back in the day.
Well, I suppose it's better than getting the plague, mate, I suppose.
Well, I mean, they didn't really stop you from getting the plague. All they did had these corn bird noses. They just filled them with like herbs and berries because they believed that smell was how you caught diseases. So if you smelled nice things, it stopped you getting disease, which just wasn't true.
Well, no.
Scottish Danny in the chat saying badass costumes. Thank you very much. And Matt Willis, rip up the shirt and I'll buy you a new one. That's part of the gimmick. He rips the shirt every time he wears it.
I can't do that. I'm not strong enough, really. You know,
Well,
when I was a kid,
he cuts the
Yeah.
collars and the cuffs off, doesn't he? He's a cheat.
when I was a kid, I used to cut the little bit there to be able to rip the shirt, and then my mum would go mad because I'd be like ripping my clothes up and shit.
Why have I bought you a 15 for Hulkamania t-shirt this year?
Yeah. Just red. My dad's got like an endless supply of oil rags in his shed.
just full of tea towels, Hulkamania tea towels.
That's it, mate. That's it. How's your week been then, Magsy? What have you been up to, mate? Anything good?
Yeah, it's been a fun week. UFC was on pretty early this week, and we had football as well. And like I said, I've been made a lord, so it's been fun.
Can't argue with that, mate. Can't argue with being a lord, can you? Hey,
Exactly.
fantastic
Sir,
stuff.
Sir Mags, when it's casual Mondays, Sir Mags. So
This is casual, yeah. What we're doing now. My week's been all right, mate. I said I worked the other day. Now I work at a school for now. So this has been half term. So I've had a few days off, which has been quite nice.
Oh, cool.
I had a little bit of a Halloween do over my sister's on Friday, and also on Friday the Waiting Room came out, episode 1, mate.
It certainly did, and it has done great numbers. A lot of people
over the moon.
enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean that's something else. Well, I mean, got quite a bit of love online on Twitter and so on. People saying they enjoyed it, whether they've seen Quantum Leap before or not. They had listened to the show, which I really appreciate. Benny and I are so grateful for that. And people coming back after listening to the show and saying they really enjoyed it. So, I mean, if anyone's in the chat and you've heard the Waiting Room episode 1, our Genesis, I believe we called it, let me know. Give me some feedback in the chat. Let me know what you thought. If you haven't heard it yet, why not? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. Definitely go and check it out. Even if you're not a fan of the show, even if you've never watched the show, the first episode really does a good job of setting the scene and kind of like laying out how the show is going to go. And I like how you added some of the episodes that you're really looking forward to talking about, and then some of them that you're perhaps not looking forward to, and which episodes kind of haven't translated well in current time. So yeah, I thought it was a really good setting of the stage. I
caught one the other day, actually, sort of way in the future of where we are with the show. It was on randomly. I just left it on whilst the missus was doing something, watched an episode of it. It's on like the Sci-Fi channel. Okay. It was like 8 o'clock or whatever it was on. It does not come across. The storyline itself, fantastic, really good story. But some of the things that the one character says with regards to this lady who's, shall we say, slightly larger than she could be, some of the things he says, it was just not in 2021 not suitable at all. But that's the sort of thing we're going to get into. It's going to be quite a good thing, quite a good discussion on the different topics and different time frames and different leaps, I guess, through time with Benny. So yeah, episode 2 out on Friday, the 2-part start to the series, Genesis, episodes 1 and 2. We're combining it as one because it actually did come out as a TV movie, so we're going to do it as one episode as well. So that's going to be quite interesting. It's already recorded. Hopefully people will enjoy it when it comes out, and send us some feedback. Let us know what you think.
Absolutely.
So then, Mags, one of the things we spoke about doing for our Halloween special, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take this beautiful, sparkly, big gold belt here. I'm just going to pop it down. One of the things that we spoke about doing for our...
I honestly thought you was going to do a Shane Douglas and go to the Harley racers and they can all kiss my ass.
I've actually got a T-shirt somewhere to the left. Somewhere to the left, there's a pile of clothes because I'm lazy and my wife's wonderful. She does all the washing, and I just put it down the side of the bed and never put it away. So somewhere in this pile of clothes to the left of me here, there is actually a T-shirt with Shane Douglas on the front, and that whole thing, speech written out. It is so cool. I love stuff like that. But yeah, something we discussed doing for our Halloween special, and we're not going to lie, it was a little bit of a gamble. We've got faith in our listeners, our viewers, our chain wrestling community, for want of a better term.
Chain gang.
The chain gang. But it's you're desperate to get that over, aren't you?
It's so wrong.
Something we wanted to do was engage in everyone, sort of having a little bit of fun, having basically a fancy dress Halloween costume competition. The criteria was to follow certain pages on Twitter, make sure you subscribe to the Radio Tekkers YouTube channel as well, and then send in your pictures. And it could be any pictures at all. It could be a new one, a recent one, this weekend, I think we've got some from this weekend where people got dressed up for Halloween and so on. Send them into the show. And then Magsy and I probably going to lean more towards Magsy because I'm a shit house and I can't make decisions. Is going to pick a winner.
Why am I the bad guy? Just because I come dressed as a plague doctor doesn't mean I should be the bad guy.
No, the big orange racist should probably be the bad guy. But
we'll blame Hulk Hogan.
I got a couple of family members who have entered though, mate. So I don't want to be accused of bias. Do you know what I mean? So my hands may be tied. The
fact that they're your family members means they're already a winner.
Wow, I'm that great, mate. I'm that great. That was ridiculous. Yeah, so we asked if people to send their pictures in and so on. And I'll tell you what, our chain gang, well, that makes me shudder saying that. Our chain gang did not disappoint. Yeah, especially dressed like this.
Chain gang.
I think I'm going to go back to calling them our community for now until we can think of a better name. Perhaps that's a competition we can run in the future. We'll see. But our chain wrestling community didn't disappoint, Mags, did they? And we should have. Me personally, I should have had more faith. I was worried about this. Absolutely shit in the bed. Absolutely, dropping out. I had a backup thing to do with us, Magsy, didn't we? Just in case it didn't work out. That's gone in the bin now. Sod that. Well, we don't need that because you guys are amazing.
It'll come up probably in a future episode because it's still a solid idea. But yeah, I mean, we're worried taking this live in the first place, and you guys have definitely not disappointed there. We've worried about whether we can sustain viewers, and you guys have certainly not disappointed there. And we should have had more faith in you, and we have been fully repaid for that with some amazing pictures.
Yeah, basically we're losers and we should trust you lot, and that's the way it works. So what I thought we would do, Mr. Mag, seeing as you are the magic man who controls all the wonderful technological, equipment we have. What I thought we would do,
debatable.
We would have a look at the entries now. Run through what we've got already, just have a little look through, a little discussion, and then we get on with the show as normal. And then if there's anyone in the chat who wanted to enter, you still can pop a message across, pop a picture across to Mr. Mags. You can see his Twitter just there underneath his gloriously white beaked nose at Podfather Mags. DM him a message across there. We'll say maybe what we're on now, 10 past, 9:15ish. Should we say by 10 at the latest, Mags?
Yep, 10 o'clock seems fair.
Yeah, 10 o'clock cut off if anyone wants to chuck another picture in or their first picture or whatever. Okay. And we'll just go from there. And then we'll reveal the winner of the T-shirt and the other bits and bobs, the other goodies at the end of the show after we've covered our wrestling topic. So, Maxie, let's have a look at what we got then, mate.
Let's do it. Boom. So, first up is your daughter, Anya, with what I assume is some sort of corpse bride. Absolutely brilliant costume. And there she is again.
I've not seen these.
You've not seen all of the photos?
No. I can't see anything with these glasses on for a start. So I've got to do this to be able to see the pictures. There we go. That's better.
Oh yeah, that's cool when you can just lift your glasses up. What do I do? Lift up the whole of the mask.
Do you know what I can do as well? I can do that and that, and I can even do. I can choose if I want to use one eye or both, Mags.
That's
Look at that,
ridiculous. Anyway.
No, what I mean is the pictures that came directly to you, I've not seen. So this is going to be quite interesting. So
yeah, Anya setting the bar very, very high with a, I'm assuming corpse or demon bride. I'm sure she'll let me know in the chat if I'm wrong. Next we've got Ash Cooper as a very old and wizened Beetlejuice.
And I know
Beetlejuice.
I know Ash very well, and that's his I'm pissed off face. Okay, so you know that having that long hair is driving him nuts.
So then next up, Radio Tekkers teammate and waiting room star Benny Mac dressed as the Mad Hatter. That's good as well. I love the little mustache.
I like that's almost like the old status quo, isn't it? Where you rub the matchsticks on your face. Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Chris Lewis from Chris Talks Games over on Visionaries Global Media. He's gone as I think he said the 13th Doctor.
Anything Doctor Who's good with me, mate.
Yep, and he's even got the sonic screwdriver, so he's got whole hog.
Yeah, fair play, Chris. Fair play.
Then Dan Griffin, He went as Kane with the Kane mask, but Holiday Kane. So there he's got the luau and the beach shirt. He also said that there was a grass skirt that wasn't pictured. So that's pretty awesome.
Grass
and I'm being
skirt.
corrected in the chat. It was actually the 11th Doctor, not the 13th
right.
Doctor. Apologies for any Whovians out there. So next we've got Tyler, who has gone as a very deathly white pallbearer. He's looks like he's shed a few pounds as well as pallbearer. So,
with regards to Tyler there, sorry to interrupt, Magsy. If anyone doesn't know Tyler, find him on Facebook, Tyler Peters, or find him on Twitter. He's normally tagged in our non-wrestling topic stuff as well. DT Peters, I believe his handle is on Twitter. I'll look it up before the end of the show anyway. Brilliant guy. He does impressions of Paul Bearer, and you hear him talk about wrestling. He was a guest on SJP recently because he's just started going out and started writing his own stuff, his own articles for his own site. So I had him on the show to talk about that, and it's fantastic. The guy is so passionate about wrestling. It's well worth chucking the guy a follow on social media, having a listen whenever you see his name pop up on any podcast, and check out his articles as well. Tyler's a great guy.
And I absolutely adore the fact he's used a cocktail shaker as an urn.
Well,
so we've got next,
funeral directors get thirsty, Mags.
A few from Harry.
Yes.
I don't know particularly what the get-up is. I mean, zombie rocker, I suppose.
Yeah, and there's a pub in Gloucester. Well, it's not. It's basically going to be the same as every other good pub in Gloucester, torn down and turned into flats very soon. But they used to do a Halloween night, rock night on Halloween, funnily enough, and they'd have a live band doing all sorts of covers, and Harry would always be involved, whether it's playing guitar or whatever. Little side note, that Motley Crue t-shirt there is now owned by my wife because Harry was desperate for me to go out drinking with him one night. Was convinced my wife was going to say no, which is not how our marriage works. She said, yeah, as long as you're happy, so I go out. Harry tried to convince her by saying, take the Motley Crue t-shirt as payment for letting your husband out. So my wife got a night at home on her own without me bothering her, and a new Motley Crue t-shirt. So she was over the moon.
Win-win. So this is Harry, I assume, is some sort of ninja, maybe.
I think he's like a Father Christmas of some sort, maybe.
Oh, yeah, that actually does make way more sense than the ninja. Good shout.
Well, does it? Because it's Halloween.
I mean, you could dress up as Father Christmas on Halloween, an evil Father Christmas. With his naughty list, I swear. There's the zombie rocker again. Next, we have Hazel as a corpse bride.
Yeah.
That's actually a really cool costume. This is the front runner for me. Just remembering that time when Jason from Friday the 13th won the WCW World's Heavyweight title. It just brings back great memories for me. So,
and you get the muscle flex as well from Liv there as well. That's what that cracks me up.
It's superb. Matt with a poor effort. I'd say that's literally just buying a cheap mask, Matt. So yeah, I'm gonna have to dock your points for that, sir.
Yeah, but cool Doctor Who poster in the background now.
I'd say Chris gets the props for that poster. I don't think that's Matt's domain.
Oh, okay.
Next is a brilliant one. Aura, she's
green.
I mean, Aura's green anyway. Obviously not facially green, but she always has like cool green.
She's
hair.
not green.
No, but she's put my updated modern Faber from Wicked last night. That's not who I see. This may be a very British thing, but I see that and it to me looks like grot bags.
But you're scared of grot bags, aren't you?
I don't like grot bags, yeah. But it's still a really cool get up.
Yeah, smart.
Going up the whole hog of that of paint, colouring her arms, so she's fully green. Yes, a great shout by Aura. And this one is brilliant. Scottish Danny going dressed as aces and eights, and he actually gave us a little bit of a story about this as well. So he went to a fancy dress party, and nobody there recognised who he was, and he also scared away a local drug dealer. Just dressed as that, so yeah.
I love the Aces and Eights jacket. That is so cool.
Yeah, it's superb. And the mask is just brilliant.
It's so good.
So next we've got Sharon and Cassie as Poison, Ivy, and Wonder Woman. That's
My beautiful wife there.
That's absolutely superb. And then last one, again, Tyler sent in a second one of himself. So Tyler as the undead pallbearer. So up to press. There are some badass costumes, way better than the crappy effort that we put in.
Mate, I know you're not going to have no sympathy for me whatsoever because of what you're wearing. But straight up, I am so warm in this.
I'm in a fucking rubber mask. A rubber mask. I've sweat a pound into this. If this corn has actually got sweat in it now, I'll be able to, if I snip the end off, it's like a teat.
A sweaty nose teat. Oh, see, there once upon a time, that's what the episode would have been called.
I should have actually thought of that, to be fair.
Oh, dear me, dear me. Thank you so much, everybody. I can't see anything. Needs to have to go back up. Thank you so much for entering the competition. Everyone who has done. If you still want to get any other further entries in, go ahead. Mags's Twitter is open. Slide into Mags's DMs like his sweat is sliding down his big white coney face. And then send us some more images, more pictures, or the first one, whatever you want to do. There was some brilliant pictures. It's going to be very difficult at the end of the show for us to decide. When I say us, for Magsy to decide who's going to win.
Matt's just
why?
His. I think he just took the mask off and put on a medical mask. Again, not very much effort there, Matt. But no, that's
so mean to Matt. You are.
It looks badass. That one looks really badass.
That looks good, doesn't it? That looks great.
Wow, I am getting absolutely abusing here. Mags is just teasing chain wrestling after dark. Mags, you have never looked better. Or that's very mean. I can't see the look, but I felt it from Matt. Yeah, you always get the look and the giggle, but always the look.
To be fair, you're there saying that, that was very mean for Maury. You called her grot bags, dude.
That's a compliment.
You also, in the same sentence, said you're scared of grot bags. How does that work?
To be fair, I'm scared of Ori.
Well, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. She is needed to keep you and Tanner completely in check on a change in attitude.
Absolutely
100%. That episode where she wasn't there, my goodness, what a mess that turned into quickly.
We recently recorded an episode where Tanner wasn't there, and Ori, and I said I was going to edit it out, but I didn't. I left it in. She had a baby in the middle of the recording.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to give you any context. Listen to that episode of A Change in Attitude when it drops. But yeah, she had a baby in the middle of the recording.
Okay. Well, very professional. She can carry on, just sort of muting the mic every now and again to get away with it. No, fair play. I look forward to that, as I do every single week, because it's a bloody fantastic show. So then, Mr. Mags, shall we have a little look at what else our chain gang, I suppose, has been sending us on Twitter
for the non-wrestling topic of the week?
Yes, and being Halloween, we thought we'd do something Halloween themed, so we're going to go with all things scary, basically, wasn't it, Mr. Mags? We're going to say what's the most scared you've ever been? What scary films what scary films scared you, I guess? Was there any TV program you didn't like? Anything at all that scared you, or the most scared you've ever been? It is basically the gist of what we were looking at because of it being Halloween. And again, you lot did not disappoint one bit. We had some absolute stormers and a couple of odd ones as well. But that's what makes the show, Maxie, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. I mean, you are a bunch of oddballs.
I would start, as I normally do, with the first one to come in and just kind of run through, I guess. The first one we had was from MGB Graham at MGB Graham on Twitter. It says, not scary at all, but from his childhood, he thinks it was the Chuckle Brothers. They were talking about ghosties and the ghoulies. I don't want to be caught by the ghosties, says the first one. I don't want to be caught by the ghosties either, says the second. Yeah, nobody wants to get caught by the ghosties.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have said they were very, very scary. But I remember a story told back to me from Clive from the Ricky and Clive Wrestling podcast. He actually worked in a hotel, and he once was serving breakfast to these two in the hotel room, and he actually mixed up their breakfast. So he took Barry's breakfast to Paul. So when Paul saw the breakfast, he said, "No, it's not for me." He actually was really angry about it and like got really aggressive, and didn't once say "silly you," "silly me," to you, to me. None of that. There were none of the catchphrases. As he just said, it was a cantankerous old so and so.
Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? Eh? That's a shame. Which one's Paul? The one that's still alive?
Paul is. I mean, it's hard because it's flashing, but he's the one. But I wouldn't say the one that doesn't look like an idiot, but they both look like idiots. Paul is the main character. The other one's like the side character, the more the dopey one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's fair enough. Yeah, because Paul's the one that's still alive then, because the other fella passed away, didn't he?
Yeah, I think
so.
So
Yeah.
Barry.
And you say the Chuckle Brothers aren't scary, and you've got to bear in mind they're of a certain age and they worked for the BBC in a certain era. I think that is quite frightening. You know,
it is now. Back then they probably weren't scary, but now they're probably. I mean, I'm not even going to finish that. I don't want to cast aspersions on the.
No, actually, we don't want to get sued, do we? You know, especially looking like this. Just to be 100% clear, Radio Tekkers, Chain Wrestling, Mags and Sai, in no way, shape, or form are accusing evil Chuckle Brother of being a nonce. There's not the situation we're saying. That's not what. There's no evidence to support anything. There's not even any rumors. It was a throwaway comment that I'm blatantly going to edit out. We Ori messaged in as well at Ori the Draw on Twitter. 9th grade. Went to I think that's his Myrtles Plantation on a French club trip around Halloween. What's the Myrtles Plantation, Max? He doesn't know what that is.
I have not got a clue. And I didn't bother looking it up. So,
well, no, I don't bother looking it up either. I just think I'll ask you.
Ori's in the chat, so I'm sure she'll explain it.
Yeah, okay, Ori, if you can let us know what that is. Myrtles Plantation on a French club trip around Halloween. Was on the tour, and the last room was the men's gaming parlor. Her boyfriend and I, so not her boyfriend and I, we didn't go on the trip. That'd have been weird, wouldn't it? Yeah. That weekend he was away, or he was with me. I'm sorry. It's out there now. Sorry. The boyfriend and Ori go to stand in a corner next to a chair that he lays his jacket on, and we bump the chair 2 inches. He's standing behind Ori with his arms around her waist while the guide is speaking. Ori says she feels the chair move back to her an inch or so. Once it was over, he leans over her boyfriend and asks if he moved the chair. And Ori says she was about to ask him the exact same thing. Now, I'd have been gone in that situation. My first thought would have been, my partner's winding me up here.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have done. Because it's not real. Ghosts aren't things, are they?
Ghosts aren't things.
Yeah, they're not real.
I know words.
Me fail English. That's impossible.
Ghosts aren't things. There's a t-shirt in that. Sharon, note that down, yeah?
So, all he's actually explaining is the Myrtles is an old plantation in St. Francisville. It's very haunted. Well, it's not. It's not at all haunted because it's not real. But it's played on.
The plantation is real.
For making money.
The plantation is real.
Yeah, the plantation is probably very real.
Yeah, but the way you worded that then, you were like, it's not, the plantation is not real. So the plantation's real. You're saying the ghosts aren't real.
The ghosts aren't real, yeah. I listened to a podcast, and I've forgotten the name of it now, but it's by a comedian called Ray Peacock. And he has another comedian friend called Ian, I think he's called Boldsworth. Basically, Ian, he believes everything. Like you tell him a tale, and he instantly believes it with no evidence or no kind of skepticism whatsoever. And Ray, he always looks for like the science behind things or the reason behind things. And essentially, every time that there is something that's haunted, he looks for who would get benefit from that being said it's haunted, and it's usually because they want to sell it as haunted. sell tickets to go there or sell merchandise, stuff like that. And every single time he's been proved right. There's no such thing as ghosts.
Oh man!
Sorry to ruin Halloween.
See, I'm not being funny.
For
Thanks.
everyone.
Your timing couldn't have been any worse. We've based the whole freaking show, right? The next hour of our content on Halloween and ghosty goings on, and you just sat there and gone, "Yeah, none of it's fucking real," and gone, I completely chopped us off at the angles now, mate, aren't you?
But to counter that, we do a podcast about wrestling, which is essentially pretend farting.
This is a wrestling podcast, you're right?
Exactly.
Apparently.
So we're talking about pretend ghouls and ghosts as well as pretend wrestling.
As opposed to real ghosts.
Well, as opposed to not real ghosts, because they aren't a thing.
See, I'm of the mindset of...
Ghosts aren't things.
I'm of the mindset of... Well, I want it to be real. Same as UFOs and all that sort of stuff, right? I want it to be real, but I'm for crying out loud. I want it to be real, but I need to be convinced. I need to see something myself that I can't explain away in any other way. And again, I'm not here saying this is right, this is wrong, or rubbishing anyone who thinks that, you know, that they firmly do believe, or I'm not rubbishing anyone, you know, who sits there and just sit like you, Magazine, is a big white-nosed grump. It's you know, just for, you know, context, if anyone's listening on the podcast or audio version, I'm not being racist despite being dressed as Hulk Hogan here. Magsy's mask has got a big white nose. I'm not saying he's got a big white nose grump, you know. It's
I can always put a laugh on to show him up.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. Yeah, but I thought that's going to work on the podcast version, is it?
And I'm not definitely dressed as a wrestling sex offender. This was not a Marty Skrull thing. This is a genuine play actor thing.
This is brilliant. So far today, we have to clarify that I'm not a racist, you're not a sex offender, and the Chuckle Brothers are 100% definitely not nonsense.
Correct.
I think we're doing some good work here today.
We are.
But yeah, like I was saying, I want these things to be real, but I will look at logical reasons for stuff beforehand. However, sometimes there's some things that I can't explain away, and I think, okay, well then the only option left is that it must be something spiritual or supernatural or something, maybe.
Is that the only option, or is that the only option you can see?
Well, I don't know. It depends on the circumstance, doesn't it?
I suppose it does. Ghosts aren't things, though. Well...
Ghosts aren't things. Oh, dear. Dan Griffin, messaging the show, good friend of the show, at Dan Griffin 21. He says the movie to shit him at the most is The Grudge. Still shiver hearing that death rattle. I've never seen The Grudge, Magsy. Is that the one with Sarah Michelle Gellar in it?
Yeah, I think it's
on the subway.
Yeah, I think it's called Gion in Japanese. So it's essentially a very pale white kid, and the death rattle that he's on about is like the kind of like croaking that the kid does. It's very, very eerie.
Okay,
it's part of that whole kind of like Japanese horror fad that we got with the.
I like the Ring and yeah. Okay. I've not seen The Ring either. I'm a big wuss, to be honest. I won't watch something that I think is going to scare the crap out of me.
Oh, I love horror films. Love it.
It's just I like you know, the classics, Halloween and stuff like that, and I'm really excited about the new Halloween coming out. But something like that, especially if it involves kids, that freaks me out. I don't want to get involved in that. You know, that scares me. Creepy kids, nah.
Yeah.
Dan continues. The play version of The Woman in Black is amazing, tense, creepy, and a couple of great jump scares. He says, for TV, and Sharon in the chat will 100% agree with Dan here, for TV, you cannot beat the weeping angels in Doctor Who for scary villains. Yeah, they are bad, aren't they? When you literally, they're just there all of a sudden. Oh, yeah, not for me, mate, not for me.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the weeping angels. The Woman in Black, I've never seen the play version. I've seen the movie version with Daniel Radcliffe, and I thought that was a really good kind of take on a classic horror film. So I'll be interested to see the play version. Yeah,
okay. Before we lose it, Magsy, in the chat, Ori there giving us a bit of a ghost story before it disappears up.
I will read it out, even though I will say this is a work of fiction. So there are many strange things that are unexplainable or inexplicable, as the correct terminology would be, that have happened there. Built circa 1796, there is an old story that one of the slaves was in danger of being sold, and she poisoned a cake for the intention of making the children sick, so that she could heal them and thus prove her work. However, the children did not survive, and she was later killed as punishment. Rumor has it that her and the children still roam the grounds. They don't. That rumor is false. It's like a Dave Meltzer story in the Wrestling Observer. It's made up.
God, you're such a grouch. And tell you what, the tooth fairy isn't real, and a bunny doesn't bring you chocolate eggs.
That's
Anything
also
else,
very
Mag?
true.
More here from Dan Griffin. More here from Dan on the Twitter. Not sure if it was a paranormal experience or a dream, but I'm sure I was woken up by my bedroom door opening and closing. I just laid there half asleep and terrified, and I felt the end of my bed dip as though someone was sat on it. Then it raised, I finally looked up, and no one was there. Now that is creepy.
Okay. It sounds creepy, if it were real. I predict that Dan was probably drunk that day, or I predict that of every day that Dan's ever been alive.
Yeah, you can't use that as a reason, because then what about all the other times?
But wind. I'm blaming wind for this one.
Wind. How would wind make? How would wind make the bed go down your? And wind blows in one direction. It's not going to blow the door open and shut again, is it?
Yeah, but it might be wind from the door for that bit, and then wind from Dan that made the bed go up and down.
You're unbelievable. And there we go in the chat.
I was actually sober. I don't believe that.
Paul Tolly on Twitter. Sorry, Max, I didn't realize you brought another comment out. Carry on, my friend.
Oh, so this is Matt from Five Nerds Go. I only came to see what the lads were dressed as for Halloween. I was not expecting a nonce and a racist. Well, we expect the unexpected here on Chain Wrestling.
Anyway. Paul Tolly on Twitter, at Raincounter is his handle. He says he doesn't watch much scary stuff, but The Orphan creeped him out. Now, I don't know The Orphan, but it looks like quite a dated movie, potentially. Is that it looks sort of 80s from the clip he's given?
No, it's later than that. I'd say maybe late 90s to early 2000s. So this girl, who you can see on the screen, she was a little orphan, but she was actually in real life like a 40-year-old woman, and she tried to basically make this couple who had adopted her. She was the only thing in their life, so she attacked the dog. She tried to kill her, what would have been her adopted sister. And then when you get the reveal, she actually takes a teeth out, and her face is all wizened, and she has no teeth. So yeah, it's a really clever film, a really good ending as well.
Is that based on a true story?
I don't know, to be honest. It could well be.
Because there was that one story, wasn't there, about it was on one of those American true crime programs that all seem to be narrated by exactly the same bloke,
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds familiar, but I don't know if
it may well be. It may well be.
Tolly continues, wrestling wise, Mankind really scared him. He couldn't watch his segments. The Mandible Claw was terrifying. His music gave me the chills, all round terrifying. Now, I don't get that. How Mankind being terrifying? I suppose the segments and the interviews and all that could have a bit to that, I suppose. Mandible Claw, no, I'm not having that. That's one of the worst wrestling moves ever. I hate that move.
It's literally just two fingers on the tongue.
It looks like crap. It looks like the claw that they used to do, the Von Erichs used to do in Texas. It looks shit then. It was shit when Mankind did it. It's been shit all along. However, Mankind were looking at what, 96?
Yeah, well, on a changing attitude, we're seeing Mankind really kind of start going into this style of character where he's ripping his hair out and he's doing the very screechy promos. So, I mean, if you were young at that age watching it for the first time, I suppose seeing a guy ripping his own hair out and hidden in the boiler room could be a little bit worrying. Yeah, and Matt's made a good point in the comment. The schizophrenic music was intense because he had like different music to be for his entrance than he did his exit, which is kind of like play on his schizophrenia. So yeah, I can see it being scary, but the mandible claw was not terrifying. That's a ridiculous take.
So, how old is Tolly?
Tolle is mid-30s, so he would have been about.
Right.
He would have been maybe about 10.
Yeah, I get that then. I thought he was a similar age to us, and I was thinking in '96 I was just about to leave school. So if he was similar sort of age and was scared of mankind, I was about to mock him. But no, it's okay. We'll let it go.
Every kind of take that Tolly has, you have to be concerned about because he eats stock cubes for snacks. So he's not a full shilling at the best of times.
Never mind. We have another tweet here from Ori. I've done this in completely the wrong order because I'm a prat who has no clue how technology works. Continuing on the story about the room in the plantation. It was the last room on the tour. There was always wild stuff happening there. Her hubby and Ori took the kids and his parents once, had fresh batteries in the camera, couldn't get it to work, left and it worked just fine. Now, that is something that you see quite a lot on these investigation programs, isn't it? Where the electronic devices have their power sort of sapped and drawn, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, are they there? Or is it just, let's pretend that happened?
So everybody who's ever experienced that is pretending. Everybody in the whole world, in any scenario, even Ori herself.
No. People who release videos like that,
right?
You have to realize what the end game is, what they released it for. Are they releasing it to prove that there's ghosts, or is it I can sell this video and make money off it?
No, okay, I appreciate that. But then when you get all these investigators that go and try and disprove this, and their equipment goes down.
Do they go in to disprove it though? Who goes in to disprove it?
Well, these certain investigators that work on certain shows, don't they?
You mean like on Ghost Hunter, where they're all aim is to make you believe that there's a ghost there?
Well, no, okay. Most Haunted, for example, you've got that Derek guy, the Scouser, aren't you? Right, who's like supposedly psychic, talking to the ghosties and whatnot. Okay,
is he the one who has a ghost friend called Sam?
Yes. Yeah. Now he ended up being discredited on the show by one of his own investigators. So surely the investigator there has the motivation to take things seriously and wants to prove this right or wrong either way. And if he's discrediting the star of the show.
And then what's happened to the show since? Has that show carried on?
Yeah, it carried on, but I don't think it was ever as popular, was it?
It probably wasn't. I know I only watched a couple of episodes and I could tell that it was faked. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm an expert in this. I've never seen any conclusive evidence to say that there are ghosts.
Fair enough, mate.
So ghosts aren't things.
Because you haven't seen ghosts, they do not exist.
Yeah.
Everyone else is wrong.
They're all wrong.
Oh my goodness. Scottish Danny at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter, good friend of the show. He says most scared is the time he walked into a shop with his sister and a mouse came out of a crack in the pavement and darted towards him with high speed. He said you would have thought it was a lion by the reactions.
Wow. The most scared that you've ever been in your life is when a teeny tiny mouse ran at you. Brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you can have a fear of certain things, can't you? If you're scared of mice, then I get that. You know, you think about it. Spiders are tiny. Some people are scared of spiders.
That's also very true. But it's not something I'd be scared of. I wouldn't be scared of a mouse. But if you are terrified of mice, ha 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 ha.
This is a really strange dynamic this week. I don't know if this is like
it's the mask. It's taking over me.
It's like restricting your oxygen and making you go a bit tapped in the head or something.
It is definitely restricting my oxygen.
You know, but it's like I'm like 100% the baby face this week, and you're just a vile heel, mate.
I'm the Rock. and you're the Hogan, and this is WrestleMania 18.
Oh man. Millwall Chris on Twitter at Millwall Chris 1. He says here, when he was a kid, he hated the theme tune to the TV program How. I think we covered this before, didn't we, about kids' TV shows and so on. And he says it was the Native American drum noise, just freaked him out. And he also said the end of Crime Watch. Damn you, Nick Ross. Now that's quite funny for me.
The end of Crime Watch. So none
Yes.
of the stuff like in between, like, oh, this guy murdered 14 people and he's still at large and we don't know where he is. That didn't worry. It was the end, like when the music come on and like, oh shit, no more Crime Watch. I'm gonna have to watch the news now.
No, I think he means when that fella, what was his name? Nick Ross would say, don't have nightmares, you know? And it's like,
do sleep well. And you're like,
yeah.
How can I do that? You've just
Yeah.
told me of a story of a bloke who killed people with a spoon, but no, don't have nightmares.
And he's still out there. And here's a picture of him. Can you, if you have any information, don't approach him. Yeah, thanks, Nick. I was going to go right up to him and shake his hand. Cheers for that.
Are you that bloke I just saw on Crime Watch?
Yeah. And
The
they say
police are
you
looking
use,
for you.
they say you use a spoon to kill all your victims. How does that work?
Well, I'll show you.
Oh, before we carry on, the last couple, Magsy, should we have a little catch up on the chat? It seems there's quite a bit going on in there.
Yeah, they're all giving me abuse as per usual. Dan Griffin, I heard Tolly had nightmares about making him eat Chris to tear up his gums. Yeah, that's one of his ridiculous food takes. Zombie Macho Man next year, please, sir. So you already got your costume booked for season 2.
Oh, bloody hell. Do you reckon we'll still be doing this silly nonsense in 12 months' time?
Silly nonsense. How dare you? I don't come on this show to be mocked.
How can you sit there looking like that and say silly nonsense? How dare you?
Oh wow, this may be the last episode of Chain Wrestling Live, folks.
Well, yeah, it will be when we get sued by the freaking Chuckle Brothers.
Yeah, Marty Skrull and Hulk Hogan as well.
Yeah.
So Graham from Good Cop Bad Cop. We've only a 4-hour time difference right now. I have to get my tea first, so I'm back to start at 2x, and we'll be live with you in about 35 minutes. See, that's dedication. That's the kind of viewer that we appreciate. That he's still watching live, but he's watching at double the speed so he can catch up. Brilliant. I love you, awesome. Graham.
Shall we start talking really slowly? So when he's doing it at double speed, it sounds normal.
Someone's tried to pull that trick on me before. So obviously, you know, I listen to podcasts at ridiculous speeds.
Yeah, you can't hear it, man. Surely you can't hear that.
Why does it go like silent? The faster that you listen, the silent it goes.
It just turns to noise. It's no words. It's just like and that sort of shit, isn't it? It's like a gerbil having a fit. You know?
No, but the pitch doesn't change. It doesn't go chipmunky. It's just the speed changes. That's all.
Oh, okay. But it still sounds. I can't do it. I tried it once because you were saying about like having it on like ×3 or whatever. So I tried it on. I went up like 1.5 to 2.5, and that was it. I had to go back, and now I still listen to stuff on ×1. I can't do it.
It took a while to get there. I went up in increments. It's not like I just decided one day to go, yeah, I want to listen to this 3 times the speed. But now 3x sounds standard to me. When I listen to like YouTube videos or podcasts at 1, it sounds really, really slow. Like you put a record on at 33 rather than 48 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know, mate. I don't know. I don't. I understand then you can fit more in. I guess you can listen to more podcasts, but I can't take it in. It's just noise.
Now I'm the same at 1 times the speed. Now I get distracted.
Okay. I just think you're weird.
the wife actually says she thinks it's sending me mental, which it's probably accurate.
That's a good point. It can't be right. It can't do you no good.
Wow, it's just. Are you saying I'm angry and cantankerous because I listen to podcasts at fast speeds?
Well, I'm not saying it may just be a coincidence, but it's
podcasts
this week.
Aren't things.
It's just it's this week you've been talking about starting things at ×5, and then you have been quite a grouch today, haven't you?
that is probably just a coincidence.
Yeah.
I'm a grouch because of this ridiculous thing that was your idea in the first place. I feel like I'm going to a BDSM meeting straight after this. It's sweaty, it's rubber, it's stuck to me. I can't breathe. It's ridiculous. How did plague doctors cope back in the day?
I don't know.
Anyway, let's get back to the
suppose that everything was a lot more open air back then, wasn't it? So, might have been a bit cooler than being like in your podcast studio.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Benny in the chat, the boogeyman made him feel sick with those worms. Yeah, that's
not a good
that's horrific. That's one of the worst things of wrestling that I can remember, when Boogie used to eat worms.
It was worse when he bit that big growth off that woman's face, though.
Of Gillian Hall.
What? Yeah. Oh, that's horrible.
And he had it the week after, and he was like messing with it in his mouth, and like you could see, because he had gaps in his teeth, so he was like threading it through the gaps in his teeth.
Yeah, all right, that'll do.
And it looked like a brain. Well, it looked like several brains all that meshed together.
You're just trying to get me to chuck up, aren't you?
So Dan in the chat, Mags believes the conspiracy theory that Australia doesn't exist and all Australians are actors. No, I do believe it exists. I just don't believe in ghosts. Australia isn't real, and Josh Robinson is just cosplay. Josh Robinson, he's definitely not Australian. He doesn't sound like an Australian.
Oh dear. Anyway, at UTT Rob on Twitter.
Wow,
getting back
we can't let this one go by.
Oh my word, Mags is going dogging after dark.
I'm not even reading that one. Poor dogs.
Sharon in the chat, Mags is going dogging after dark. Why? It's good of you to put that off for us. Just do our show first. Anyway, Mags, eh? Mags is gonna. I tell you what, I'm not gonna read that out. Oh dear, see, you're missing real quality comments in the audio if you're not watching live on a Monday night. People, stuff that 5 nerds go there. You're missing out, because I sure as hell I'm not reading that.
That's standard for a 5 nerds podcast. I miss those guys podcasting. They should definitely make a return.
Yeah, indeed. UTT Rob says right now he's watching The Haunting of, where Roddy Piper claims Adrian Adonis is haunting his house. Now, they actually sent me a link to this sort of 10-12 minute segment talking to Roddy Piper before he passed away. It's in that Adrian Adonis is haunting his house. Now, I must hold my hands up and say, as always, whenever we go, there's your homework, and I'll get that done for next week. I haven't done it, so I'm going to have to check that out and see what they're on about. Have you ever seen it, Mags?
No, I've never heard of it at all. So when Rob mentioned it, it's something I'm definitely going to be trying to check out.
Yeah, and if I can get a couple of lines of it, that when I listen later on, maybe I'll attach a bit in the audio so everyone can hear what they're on about. If you can't hear anything from Roddy Piper by the end of the episode, I've either forgot or just not bothered. The Interstate Wrestling Podcast at IS WrestlePod. He says here he pulled a sickie from school to stay home and watch the VHS of Silence of the Lambs his parents had rented. They wouldn't let him watch it, so obviously when they were out at work, he pulled a sickie, stayed at home to watch the film. He was about 12 to 13 years old at the time, played sick, got to stay home, watched when his parents were out, scared the absolutely living shit out of him, and it still does today. That's the best, when you're younger, absolutely terrifies you to the point where even when you're older, it still gets you.
Yeah. Especially when you've been so tormented about it, watching something when you clearly should be watching it in the first place, that it puts you off that for the rest of your life. Yeah, it's don't watch horror films, kids, until there's ratings there for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then lastly from Twitter this week, and this one is genuinely scary, but for a different reason. No ghosties or ghouls here. Our good friend of the show, Handy T1TF on Twitter. He says the most scared he has been. He hit a guardrail in his car and his seatbelt broke, and so did his door. He fell out at 75 miles an hour, only saved by grabbing the steering wheel. It made the car do donuts while his hip drug the pavement. Somehow he managed to put himself back in, or he wouldn't be here today. And he said he's absolutely terrified.
Jesus.
My word, that
Jesus
is,
Christ.
yeah, very lucky to be here today.
Yeah, God was certainly shining down on him that day.
Without a doubt, mate. Without a doubt. Why? That is shocking. Okay. So there we go. That concludes our scary stories from Twitter. What about yourself, Max?
Yeah, I don't really get terribly scared about much things. I mean, I like watching horror films. I suppose when a phone rings in a horror film and they always like amplify the volume to make you jump, that can like give me jitters, I suppose. But I'm going to tell us a tale now that's going to make me look ridiculous. I mean, I always look ridiculous anyway. But there's only me and Mrs. Maggs who knows this. So she was once driving me to work one day when I was working in a town called Clitheroe, and you have to go through like a country road to get to it from Burma. And then one day we were going through this country road, and a pigeon flew like towards the car. So because I was on my phone and I just caught this pigeon out of the corner of my eye, looked at it and like absolutely shit my pants and ducked. Even though we were in a car that had a roof and windows, and so I ducked out of the way. So the wife absolutely pissed herself laughing to the point where she had to pull up because she was just barely laughing at how ridiculous I looked ducking from a pigeon that was flying towards a car. Yeah, so she
That's
never.
a natural reaction, mate.
I know, I thought so too, but she never lets it lie down, and every so often she'll mock me for it. But yeah, I've never told anyone that ever, so I thought let's share it with everybody who ever listens, and I'm sure nobody will mock me on Twitter for this ever at all. But yeah, because that's the most terrified I've ever been.
Really? That is the most terrified you've ever been? Seriously, why?
You sound so disappointed. Like,
I am, mate. I thought all your slagging off ghosts and saying they're not real and all that sort of stuff, we get some sort of really odd story that you couldn't explain away.
Yeah, but all ghosts. No, I'm not going there. Ghosts aren't things. We've confirmed this.
Right. Oh, no, we haven't. Oh, hang on. No, well, we haven't confirmed this. You're adamant about this. We've not confirmed this. Very quickly, Mr. Matt Willis in the chat. Very, very sorry, Matt. I did miss yours. I've gone back. I found it. We're going to look at it now.
Crap.
What the hell is wrong with you today?
I'm so cantankerous today.
Jeez. Matt says, the magnificent Matt Willis at the Matt Attack UK on Twitter, good friend of the show. He says, I used to love watching the TV show Are You Afraid of the Dark? And also he was a fan of the Scooby-Doo show, of course, even the terrible live action movies. Scooby-Doo, the cartoon, I used to like because you'd get the videotapes down the road, being able to be rented out when I was to stay around my nan's house. So it reminds me of my nan going and getting a videotape of Scooby-Doo when I was really tiny and getting to watch it, with my nan and my gramps and so on. The action movies, nah, not for me. I mean, Sarah Michelle Gellar, yeah, sound. I can get on board with that. But the rest of it, nah, not for me.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Scooby-Doo fan. One of my boys, their girlfriend is absolutely besotted with Scooby-Doo, and they have all of the movies, all of the cartoons, all on DVD. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it was always the same story every single week. You always knew who the ghost was. They proved that ghosts weren't real because it was always like the cantankerous old worker at the haunted railway. And he would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids and Ruby Roo.
It's Old Man Withers from the fairground.
Exactly. So
that's still great, though.
Irrefutable proof that ghosts aren't real.
So because Scooby-Doo never caught a ghost, he must have done at least in one episode. Scooby-Doo must have actually seen a real ghost, surely.
No, probably not.
So you don't know then? Probably not. just saying something as assertive as you can doesn't mean I'm going to buy it. No, probably not.
Well, he might have done, but he didn't.
Bloody hell. Okie doke. the scariest film, I suppose, that sticks in my mind, and people might laugh at this, but I've told this story before, with Blair Witch when it first came out, because at the time everyone thought this was real. A lot of people thought this was. I got it like some dodgy pirated copy that my mate's uncle got somewhere, probably down the pub or at work or something, and we watched it. And that a few moments in that, oh my goodness, absolutely terrifying, absolutely terrifying. You know, and obviously now you watch it, you look back now and you watch it knowing the truth, it's garbage, it's absolute crap. But at that time, you had to be there at that moment, I think, to have the hype around the film and so on. And then I don't know how old I was, you know, it made me, it was freaky. It was freaky for me.
Yeah, I agree. I watched it when it came out, and there wasn't the hype around it, and it was kind of like passed along in hushed tones. And I was like, I saw it via a copy that someone had made. You think it's real, and it's that playing on what could have happened rather than the visceral kind of jump scares and horror. Now you go back and watch it, and even though it set off a trend of like found footage horror films, now you go back and watch it, and it's just some people dicking around in the woods, isn't it?
Yeah. But they made some money out of it, I suppose. So fair play to them. Fair play to them.
Absolutely.
Before we get on to a bit of wrestling, Magsy, a couple of comments in the chat. Shall I bring them up, or are you on it? Or
yeah, I mean, Matt from Five Nerds I was expecting the pigeon to have at least been carrying a whisper bar. So a few weeks ago, Anya put in the chat a picture of a whisper hazelnut. If you remember, I actually got to try one of them this week.
Okay.
Now the whisper still was bubbly, disgusting, ripped off chocolate, but the hazelnut caramel, oh my god, that was glorious. So that's absolutely a banging shout by Anya.
So progress then.
Well, we still didn't like the bubbly chocolate, but the hazelnut caramel was delicious.
Let me just clear this up just for a second then, because the way you're saying that, right?
Bubbly chocolate aren't things.
Did you say I don't like bubbly chocolate? Right? But why is that? I know it's because you say you're getting conned because of the air and you're getting half the amount of chocolate, right? But the actual chocolate itself, do you like that? Because it's still the same flavor, isn't it? It's still the same.
I don't think it is. I think having the air does take away a lot of the flavor of chocolate, because once the air bubbles pop and it melts down, I don't think it tastes like a proper bite of a chocolate bar.
Right. Okay. See, now if there's actual science behind that means that's right. And then you then say, I don't like bubbly chocolate because to me it tastes different. I can 100% get on board with what you're saying. No,
that's not why I dislike it. It's because it's the same price as solid chocolate, but it's full of air bubbles.
I'm not going. Oh, okay. Bloody hell. Okay.
Never ask us to wear costumes again.
No. The heat's getting to me now.
We've actually got another one in the chat. Sharon, I had a ghostly experience. You didn't. My nan came to visit on our wedding day in 2004. Looking back, she was probably telling me not to do it. I mean, that I can get behind. Your nan was probably trying to tell you, just don't do this.
That wasn't to marry me, mind. Just so we're clear, I know what you're getting at, Magsy, but that wasn't to marry me. That was to marry her ex. He's just a piece of shit.
Oh.
So
she was right then.
Eh?
So she was right then.
Yeah, exactly. Her nan was right. Yeah, fair play. Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. So then, before we get to unveiling or selecting our costume competition winner for this year, shall we talk a little wrestling, Mags?
Finally. Because we are actually a wrestling podcast.
We are.
Let's get ready to rumble!
That looks fantastic.
I couldn't cope anymore.
No, actually, that doesn't look good. That don't look good.
It looks like a dunce cap now, which
looks like a KKK hat.
Oh yeah, actually it does, doesn't it?
And you're like next to Hulk Hogan. This is a whole different podcast now. This has took a
There we
very
go.
dark turn.
That's better. Now I do look like Orville and Keith Harris at the same time.
And Keith Harris at the same time. Fantastic. So then, our poll this week for our wrestling match that all you wonderful people voted on was 2 Undertaker matches from the more, I suppose, spooky, ghosty, scary time in his career before he became the American Badass. Magsy and I both went with the same option. So because Magsy normally goes first, I had to pick a different option. I went with the WrestleMania 9 match where the Undertaker faces Giant Gonzalez because it is awful and silly and just you can laugh at it. Magsy stayed with the selection that we both chose. So at the time, I was thinking, this is great. Okay, because if Magsy wins, I still kind of win because it's my choice too. Of Yokozuna versus the Undertaker in a casket match for the WWF title at the Royal Rumble in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
That selection won, and I thought this was terrible. I'm not gonna lie. I think I would have rather have watched Giant Gonzalez, mate. Honestly, I do.
Yeah, I mean, old school Undertaker matches. Is there any good ones really? They haven't aged well.
No.
And this one certainly hasn't aged well. I mean, he's going up against Yokozuna. I mean, God love the chap. He was a very much an attraction, but as a wrestler, limited. In this run of Undertaker, with the character being the slow, lumbering wrestler, he was also slightly limited and was still in that period where I think he needed somebody to lead the dance. And yeah, it was a spectacle match. It did what it had to do, I suppose. But yeah, going back, it's not a 5-star classic.
No, it was definitely not. I mean, to be honest, the thing everyone remembers, I suppose, from this event, not just this match, you have the moment of Owen Hart turning on Brett in the tag match earlier in the show. Obviously, the Royal Rumble itself is a draw. And then the end of this match, people remember for The Undertaker, I suppose, getting a beaten down by everybody and then ascending
to the heavens, yeah.
So the match itself, I've not seen in years and years. If I ever put Royal Rumble 94 on, I will skip this.
Mm-hmm.
So actually sitting down to watch it, I thought, okay, this is going to be quite interesting. I was wrong.
I mean, we got the whole kind of a clip show of the promos that they've been running for the build up to this match, where Undertaker spent months and months building this coffin by hand with tools from the Dark Ages. In a very dusty shed, I suppose. All those kind of really built up the kind of it built this match up to more than it actually ended up being. And seeing Yokozuna terrified in the ring. I mean, this guy was 600 pounds. He should have been afraid of absolutely nobody. But it was kind of typical of almost the monsters of the week style that Undertaker's opponents were around this time. I mean, he had Kamala, who was doing pretty much a lot of the same things. He was terrified of the Undertaker. So, yeah, I mean, the suspense was built up for this match. It's just it was never going to live up to that in terms of in ring. So it made sense for the match to go down the way it did. It limited how much of the time Yokozuna, who obviously was very unhealthy at the time, how much of the match he had to be a part of. And it also got Undertaker to the point where he needed to rest and recuperate some nagging injuries. So we got the finish that we did.
Yes. The selling, I think, from Yokozuna in those video packages of looking scared when the Undertaker's music would go off or the Undertaker would be talking about, he wished him Merry Christmas on one of them, didn't he? He said, Merry Christmas.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a bit odd. But yeah, the selling from Yokozuna looking terrified, I thought was great. The facials and so on, absolutely brilliant. And the ending of the match we'll get to in a moment, I suppose, is what everyone remembers. But there's not much else that goes on for me.
No, I mean, there's you get a thing who explains the rules of the match, saying that there's no pins, no submissions, no count-outs, no disqualifications. You literally, the only way to finish this match is to get your opponent in the casket and close the lid. So it was never going to be a technical clinic. With somebody the size of Yokozuna, it's always going to be power moves. So that's essentially what we got. Undertaker trying to get Yokozuna down, using all his half-flying skills, and then the cheating with the chair and the soul and things like that. So it was always going to be like almost a brawl rather than a wrestling match.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, I suppose, I don't know, playing devil's advocate, I suppose here, that stipulation, the casket match, with these two competitors then, you needed that stipulation for the finish to go the way it did. Mm-hmm. I understand that. But taking that aside, what happened after the match and all this sort of stuff, do you think the stipulation hindered them not being able to have the drama of near falls and so on? Is it maybe, did it take away from the actual contest itself before we got to the silliness at the end, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, look at it as it from a fan's point of view. Yeah, absolutely. It could have we could have had a really entertaining story told in the ring, but couple the limitations of Yokozuna with the clear injuries that Taker was coping with, and the fact that he was being wrought off. I think this worked. It made Yokozuna not have to carry the match, but it also meant that Undertaker could go away, and we start getting the kind of like regeneration of Undertaker so that he continued over his career. So it made sense looking back at it, but I do concede your point that we could have had a better match had everything gone right, and we could have had a better story told. But I suppose that this was the best way to keep everybody looking strong without kind of showing their weaknesses. Yeah,
and he was carrying a few injuries as well, wasn't he? He needed some time off, the Undertaker. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of why this was done the way it was as well. I mean, wrestling-wise, before we get to the crazy ending of this whole thing, like I said, there's not masses there to cover. There's some big clotheslines by the Undertaker trying to knock Yokozuna down. There's some vicious chair shots on the outside that are quite dramatic when you look back on them with 2021 eyes.
Yes.
There was one moment that stands out, actually. I never thought about it until I saw this match, which is strange because of the amount of times I've seen things like this. The Undertaker gets hit with a huge, ginormous belly-to-belly suplex from Yokozuna. And that was one of his stable moves. Those big power moves done by a guy that size look even more dramatic. Mm-hmm. And they did the Undertaker sit-up, which of course gets a reaction from the crowd and so on. But it's completely no-selling one of Yokozuna's biggest moves. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not just saying this because of the way I'm dressed at the moment, but if you took a similar sort of era, Hulk Hogan did something like that, and we look back on it with disdain. We look back on it with, very much with a frown on our face that he's not, the Macho Man elbow and so on. Hogan just stands up from the pile driver. I can't remember who it was who gave him the pile. It might have been Orndorff, and he just stands up from the pile driver.
It did the same with the tombstone this Tuesday in Texas from the Undertaker, and the leg drop from Sid.
So I mean, now looking at it, is the Undertaker not basically doing the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely come to that conclusion, especially when you remember a few minutes before he got the salt thrown in his eyes, and he sold that as good as anybody sold it. So to essentially be crushed under the weight of Yokozuna with that belly to belly slam, you would have thought it was there. It would have been ideal to sell at that time, but this was still very much the supernatural Undertaker, and I think that's how. Yeah, the ghosts aren't things Undertaker. But yeah, I think that was all kind of like blending into that character, especially when you consider that it's essentially the urn at the end that being like broke open and with Taker being hit with it that finishes the match off. It makes sense that none of the regular wrestling moves work on the Undertaker, but it's the supernatural stuff that eventually does help win the match for Yokozuna. That and about 55 people coming out and finishing him off.
Yeah, well, I suppose we may as well just jump straight to it, Magsy, because there isn't a great deal. I mean, I think the match itself clocks in at around 15 minutes or something like that, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. With about 10 minutes of just shenanigans.
Yeah, so I mean, there's not a great deal there, wrestling wise at all. I'm not exaggerating here. You know, that is the case from what I saw. I mean, notes wise, I've got maybe 2 or 3 lines, and then the finish. So, and the finish is then a page. So it's sort of, I suppose, it shows that there isn't a lot going on here. The finish obviously comes not long after that belly to belly suplex that we just discussed. You end up with a real ragtag group of people here: Crush, Tenru, Kabuki.
Yeah,
Comes in
at the beginning of all these these heels coming in to help vanquish Undertaker. It felt like a Royal Rumble because Crush comes in, attacks, gets beat down, gets knocked out of the ring. Kabuki comes in, he gets some action in, then gets beat down. Then Tenryu comes in, and they do tag team. They both get beat down. Then Bam Bam Bigelow comes in. And that's when it starts kind of like being overwhelming. I didn't like the fact that Jeff Jarrett tried to make it about him when he's standing on the top ropes. But yeah, essentially it takes around 10 people to beat down the Undertaker. And even then, when they got him into the casket, he was still beating them all off. That sounds so wrong, but he was still attacking them.
Chain wrestling after dark, coming soon.
He's taking out the likes of Adam Bomb, taking out Jeff Jarrett, taking out the head shrinkers, all whilst Yokozuna's got plenty of time to recover from being thrown in the casket in the first place. So yeah, it gets quite ridiculous.
Yeah, it is absolutely insane. And again, the people getting involved, that's a bit ridiculous as well. I mean, Crush had links with Mr. Fuji, didn't he, at this stage? Tenru, Kabuki, they're going to get banded in with Mr. Fuji just because of where they're from. I suppose that's how things worked in 1994 and around that time period. Bam Bam, prominent heel at the time. I suppose there was links there with Jim Cornette for a while, wasn't there? And he's associated with Yokozuna. Beyond that, it just, the head shrinkers are there. Why?
Yeah.
You know, Jarrett, you mentioned Jarrett comes out. Why? Adam Bomb turns up. What the hell is Adam Bomb doing there? It's just like, it's like the locker room just empties and thinks, oh, here's my chance to get the Undertaker. But the interesting side to that, the other side to that, sorry, is has the Undertaker just got no mates?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just faces in general. Whenever heels come out to attack, it's very rare you actually see a bunch of faces come out to defend them. It's always kind of like the heel has to fight everybody off. So yeah, I do get your point that a lot of these felt like they were just sent out because you're currently a heel. You go out and help Yokozuna, but surely you'd look at Yokozuna and think he's going to be harder to beat for that title than Undertaker is. I mean, he's 3 times the size of the bloke. So yeah, I don't understand the rhetoric behind it, but the Undertaker was the dead man, and it needed an extraordinary effort to be able to beat him, I suppose. So 10 men coming out and attacking is what it called for.
Yeah, and then he ends up in the casket. We have a bit of smoke from the urn, a bit of smoke from the casket. Undertaker appears on the big screen. In the casket, though, this is the thing. There's obviously some sort of potential webcam, maybe. I don't know how it works.
Casket after dark.
Yeah, casket cam. And the Undertaker, and that bit was quite cool when he's led in the casket like this, and then he just turns his head to the camera. Like that's quite a striking image. And then you see him, sort of float out of the casket, but then out of the big screen and take off, but you don't really see him because it's not very well lit. And
at the time, this looked cool. This looked absolutely cool. But watching it back, you could barely see the Undertaker rising up. It was so smoky. The monologue that he gave in the casket, I thought that was cool, saying you can't kill the Undertaker because the Undertaker's in the soul of every every human in mankind and stuff like that. I thought that was cool. And then the initial rising up and going through the screen, that looked cool. But it was the bit after the screen where it was so smoky, you could just make out that there was a body there in the shape of Undertaker. That could have been done so much better. But I bet in the live crowd watching this 1994, I bet it looked absolutely badass.
Yeah, I suppose. But for me, this is a big fat miss, Magsy.
It's a big fat sweaty miss.
Yeah, and I think that, well, we'll get to our rateds. There's a strong chance that, this could be one of the worst we've given, maybe, well, from my standpoint anyway. Magsy, out of 10, what are we looking at for Royal Rumble 1994 casket match?
Yeah, piss poor. Absolutely piss poor. It was a gimmick match. In 1994, this might have been cool, but watching it back after being so spoiled with the quality of wrestling now, it does not stand up whatsoever. This may be one of the worst matches we've watched on this show. Yeah. So I think I'm going to go with a 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think you're being really generous. I think this is, and I went back through the ratings. These glasses get on my nerves. I went back through the ratings that we've given on Chain Wrestling beforehand, and currently the worst rated match we have is Sting versus Meng in 95, I believe it was. Max, do you remember when it was on the beach and it was hot and they just blew up after 30 seconds and it was dire?
And they couldn't be bothered, and it was an awful match. Yeah.
I still think they did more in that match than they did in this match.
In terms of ring work, yeah, absolutely.
So I can appreciate what they were trying to do with the finish, the ending, and so on, but you couldn't see the Undertaker when he took off. The match stank. The ending was ridiculous. I'm giving this the lowest rating I've ever given, Mags. I think this is a 1.5.
Woof, Jesus,
it's that bad.
So essentially, I think it's twice as good as what you do.
I think it's fucking awful though. So
it is. It's terrible. It's very, 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 very bad.
It is shocking. But then again, this is what happens on this show. That's why people voted. We watched the matches. If people are watching along, following the chain along with us, we're so sorry.
Actually, we're not sorry because you voted for this.
Well, yeah, that is true.
So it's your own fault, really.
So then, where do you want to go next, Mr. Mags? Where shall we look at next week with our options in the chain?
Okay, so I'm going to try and switch it up and give us a really good match to watch.
Okay.
So I was actually looking at very morbidly because it was our Halloween episode. Just I couldn't remember how old Yokozuna was when he passed away. It turns
33 or 34.
It was 34,
okay.
And there's so many wrestlers under the age of 40 that have passed away. It's scary, absolutely scary. And there's another wrestler who passed away at 34, much like the Yokozuna, Owen Hart on this card earlier. Obviously in totally different circumstances, but one thing about Owen compared to Yoko is Owen was absolutely brilliant at the wrestling. Like one of the best. I firmly believe that had he not passed away when he did, you were looking at a world champion because he was arguably a better wrestler than his brother Brett, and Brett is one of the best to have ever done it.
Totally.
So I don't think we've seen enough of Owen on this show, and with him having the link of being on this show, passing away at 34 like Yokozuna, and also being tag team champions with Yokozuna as well. There's plenty of links there for me to be able to strong arm an Owen Hart matching. So I'm going to go with his most high-rated match. His only 5-star match, according to Dave Meltzer, which shows just how much of an idiot Meltzer is. But I'm going, staying in 1994, going to SummerSlam.
Okay.
And his match in the feud with his brother, Brett, they fought in a steel cage at SummerSlam. So I want to go with Brett versus Owen Hart at SummerSlam 1994 in a steel cage.
Oh, what a match that is. That's a barnstormer. And that's going to be that's interesting as well if it wins, because we've already looked at, obviously on this show, Owen and Brett split up as a tag team.
Mm-hmm.
The very next pay-per-view, we've already looked at that with Owen and Brett wrestling, and that was a barnstormer. And then this next match is the next step in the feud. And
that WrestleMania match that got 4 3/4 stars.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember back in the archives, how much praise we heaped on that and how good of a match it was. This steel cage, according to Shagger Dave, is a more higher rated match. So
it is absolutely. I don't even know why I'm going to bother, because that's going to win. It's so good, so good. Also, very quickly on a side note, I finished work fairly late in the evening, dash home, get myself ready, dress up as wonderfully as I am now, and then jump on to do this show with Mr. Mags. I've not had my tea, so if you can hear some funny noises, my belly's going all sorts here. I don't know how good this microphone is, but I'm sort of sat here going, I apologise if people can hear me. Brother.
Well, what you want to do is go to Pastamania whilst you're there and fill up.
I got a rumbly tumbly, dude.
You haven't drunk your milk in your bathrooms. That's the problem.
That's right, mate. That's right. I got a monster, my standard ginger monster. There we go. I would like to go somewhere. I suppose there's similar links between your next link and my next link as well, Magsy, because I'm going to use the Bret Hart Owen Hart match from the Royal Rumble card here as my link, but I'm not going to go with Owen. I'm going with Bret, and I'm going to go again. My mindset's similar to yours. I want to watch some good wrestling, because this was fucking terrible that we watched this week. That made me so cross. So I want to watch a good wrestling match. Now, SummerSlam 94 is a fantastic shout, and I wish I'd thought of that. However, I'm going to go back a smidge earlier, a couple of years earlier, and I want to go look at a match from a pay-per-view that we've not covered yet, I don't think. I don't think we've had anything from, and that's actually from WrestleMania 8. So using Bret Hart as the link, as Bret Hart's wrestling on this, he wins the Rumble itself on this card. Bret Hart defends the Intercontinental. No, sorry, he's the challenger for the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania 8, and he is facing Rowdy Roddy Piper. And it's again a barnstormer of a contest. So that's my shape there, Magsy. So a battle of the Bret matches, I guess, potentially for next week. So
as bad as the picks were for this week, there was no winner. I mean, they both were equally as bad. Next week's picks, I would happily, if that ended in a 50-50 draw, we got to watch both matches, because they are two brilliant matches.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that too, mate. I'd be happy with that too. So those are your options for next week's poll. The poll will be up shortly after the audio podcast version is out on the Wednesday. Keep your eye on the Chain Wrestling social medias at @chain_wrestling on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok as well, I guess. But the choices you have to vote from are Owen Hart versus Bret Hart in a steel cage, SummerSlam 94 for the WWF World title, or Roddy Piper versus Bret Hart, WrestleMania 8 for the Intercontinental Championship. Two barnstormer matches there. I'm going to be really interested to see which way this vote goes, actually, because they're similar sort of eras as well, aren't they?
And I may watch them both anyway, because they are both great matches.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. I suppose that only really leaves us with one thing left to do, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
We have to name our first ever Halloween champion for Chain Wrestling Live, where you will win a very unique, one-of-a-kind T-shirt that will be, to your size when the winner is picked. You will have other bits and bobs goodies as well that you've seen on the show in the previous weeks. So there we go. That's what we've got left to do, Magsy. I'm going to be an absolute shithouse and chicken out here and say that you've got to pick a winner, dude.
And you already bummed me out with that. I think that's a bit unfair.
Well, the thing is, I got a couple of family members, and if I chose one of them, I wouldn't want to be accused of being biased or anything. So
that's fair.
I think they're all brilliant, to be fair, but we can't afford to.
Every single one of them is a winner. The fact that you put yourself out there and sent in these pictures, we appreciate every single one of you. It was hard to pick. There's quite a few that could definitely have won on a different day, but I've made a pick, and I'm willing to die on this hill. For me, the winner is Scottish Danny. Aces and eights.
That aces and eights. I want that waistcoat. I just want it.
It's the commitment to the gimmick, which is absolutely superb. But also the fact he did he did an amazing thing in scaring off a drug dealer. I mean, that's win-win. That's win-win. Not only is he dressed up in an amazing get-up, but he's also doing great things for the community. So that's right. Do you remember Aces and Eights entrance theme as well? No. Oh, see, that's an entrance theme. That's a piece of music. Just no soldier then, like the Undertaker getting his belly to belly. There's no sold that. Oh, it's such a good piece of music. It's one of those entrance themes that I listen to now just on my sort of Spotify shuffle playlist because it's just a great piece of music. Absolutely brilliant. It might be what plays us out this week, Max. We'll see. But not now because I'm not that technically minded. I mean on the podcast version. But Danny, well done, my friend. Congratulations. Everybody else, commiserations. But it was such a difficult choice. Everyone was so good. The selection was so hard. And that's why I didn't make it. You are all superstars. You are all absolute superstars. I mean, the way this has been supported gives us faith going forward if we want to do anything else this silly and ridiculous, and maybe not as hot and sweaty. And I mean, 20 weeks ago, before we started this chain wrestling thing, neither me or Sal would have even contemplated doing something as ridiculous as this. So you guys have give us that confidence. You've given us that love and that passion that we are doing something that you really, really enjoy, and we can only thank you for that. And our way of giving back is doing competitions like this. And Dana, you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it as Aces and Eights. So yeah, it was a great costume and a very hard decision to make, but I think he's a very deserving winner. Yep, definitely. Danny, I will be in touch. Be patient, my friend. I'll message you on Twitter and we'll get it all sorted out, what size and where it is heading and so on. You say about commitment to the cause and all that sort of stuff. There's something that people haven't even realised yet, right? And I don't know how much room I've got here. If you can see, I'm actually wearing the tights as well, Max. Look, can you see it? It's concerning how much you are living the racist orange gimmick. Well, I wasn't going to wear them. I was going to wear just a pair of shorts because it gets really hot in here. But then the wife basically called me a chicken shit and said I'm not committed. So I put them on anyway. So God damn it, if I've got them on, I'm showing everyone my tighted up Hogan legs. Whereas I didn't commit. What you see in this camera is essentially what you get. Underneath, I've got an NWO t-shirt and tracky pants. Yeah, which I don't think plague doctors used to wear back in the day. I don't know, mate. I don't know. For life, isn't it? The thing is, you did commit to the cause very well because you bought this costume and then had to cut yourself eye holes so you could see, and you still couldn't breathe. It was ridiculous. Obviously, I tested it in the stream yards, and within 30 seconds, the eye holes were steaming up, and it was so I had to take the glass pieces out, and then the commitment we've got for this show is unreal. Yeah, definitely. You lucky people. Very quickly there in the chat, Mr. Matt Willis saying, see you all here for the volley in 30 minutes. Very, very true. On the Radio Tekkers YouTube channel, stick around. You get a live show with Mr. Mags and Matt and maybe somebody else jumping on too. We'll see how they get on. And I'm staying like this, Matt, just to warn you. Reviewing this week's the Premier League action. The penguin look, yes. Reviewing this week's Premier League football action. Well worth checking out, as is all the fantastic content creators on Radio Tekkers. You've got sci-fi covered with the waiting room. You've got UFC covered with 5 rounds, which this week had your good lady on, Magsy, didn't it? Which certainly did. Awesome. So well done to Mrs. Mags. That was a fantastic listen. It's only the second time she's ever been on a podcast. is it the second or third? Maybe third. But she was like a rabbit in the headlights. She absolutely was panicking. But yeah, I think she nailed it.
Yeah, I agree. You got wrestling coverage with Chain Wrestling, SJP, so much great content coming your way. You know, all the football coverage with Mags, Matt, Chris, Tanner, all this sort of stuff. Ori producing great stuff. Radio Tekkers, honestly, 100% is the place to be. Make sure you are following Radio Tekkers on Twitter. You are subscribed on YouTube. Also, follow me on Twitter at SJP Words for all the updates on my shows. Mr. Mags, where can people find you, my friend?
Yeah, before we get to that, I want to give a special shout out to Benny. I know he's been in the chat earlier, but some of the work he's doing behind the scenes for Radio Tekkers in producing the videos and the artwork, he is absolutely a legend. I think he's so talented.
Yes, definitely.
And the podcast, The Weight Room, is brilliant. I can't wait for the next episode to drop. So yeah, I definitely want to give him a shout out. And we all at Radio Tekkers appreciate the hard work that he puts in.
Without a doubt. I mean, the stuff that he did just for the waiting room alone blew my mind. Mm-hmm. Such a talented guy. Talented guy.
Absolutely. So you can follow me here. Just bang my own nose then with my hand up. You can follow me at Podfather Mags, where I am now officially a lord. So I will only answer if you say
that is amazing.
Sir. But yeah, come and follow me for links to all my content. And just if you want to ever have a chat, just come and give me a follow. I'm always willing to talk.
No worries. As I said, you can follow me at SJP Words. You can follow the show, most importantly, at Chain_Wrestling on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'll figure it out one day. It may be worth it. I don't know. Until then, I'm off now to go and make sure this outfit is washed and cleaned, ready for me to wear it to work tomorrow. Mr. Mags, I will speak to you next week, my friend.
Goodbye.
Brother.
Wow.